Yo, welcome everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are we all doing? I think it's 2 laps. I think it's 2 laps. It's 30k. It's 30k in total. Hey, what are we saying, boys and girls? Yo, what's up, Maxwell? What's up, Jacob? What's up, Will? Yo, stream today is the it's Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day. It's the race between me and my fellow Ribble teammates. It's a bit of a hilly course. I see you kept the beard. Hey, the beard's not going, man. The beard is not going. Bring it home for Newcastle, Seb. Whoa, 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 whoa. Hey, if you're watching my stream, yeah, you gotta be supporting your boy. Don't want any of that negativity in this chat.
Gear and then change it to push to talk.
Pushed it. Okay.
Yo, stream. So this is the this is the course that we're going to be doing today. It's the Ocean Lava Cliffside Loop. It's pretty much like rolling this first part, and then at about 10k we've got this pretty nasty climb which goes up to about 10%. We kind of go along the top for a bit, and then before a big long descent down the other side, and the finish, I think the finish is like around here somewhere. Wait, it's there. Okay, so the finish is here. So the finish is basically at the top of the climb. We do 2 laps in total. Bit of a drag, the climb, enjoyed it this morning. Yeah, it's a bit of a nasty climb. It goes up to 10%, so like, it is like, you know, it's a climb. It is a climb. So, what's that camera saying? Hold on, let's just put this back a little bit. Right, close up with the beard there. Lovely stuff. That's better, isn't it? There we go. Currently on lap 21 of the volcano circuit, going for 25 laps. Hey, go on, Davey, keep it up, man. Lap banner is after the bottom of the descent. Oh, okay. So maybe the finish is maybe it's not 2 full laps. Maybe it's like a lap and a half. I'm pretty sure we finished like near the top of the climb anyway. Racing proper by May. Doubtful. How long have we got? 19 minutes. Yo, how is everyone this afternoon, man? How is everyone? What smart trainer are you using? I'm using the Kicker bike. Yo, can you hear me okay? Can you hear the music in the background? I always get worried that the audio levels are completely off at this time when I'm starting the stream. Hey Cam, hope you're all good. Yeah, I'm all good, Ali. Thank you. Feeling quietly confident this afternoon, Cam? Nah, not at all, man. Hey, there's some good Zwifters in this group. Especially, I think my money's going to be on Ollie. He got to like the semi-finals of the Zwift Academy, so you know he knows how to race Zwift. It's probably a course that suits him. My money's probably on Ollie actually. Tipper is the highest odds. What time's the race? 3 o'clock. We've got 18 minutes, man. 18 minutes. I think we can join the pen 15 minutes to go. But you are legit British. Cheers, Davey. Yo, shout out to Montreal. First ride in the new desk, yeah, you know Andrew. Yo, chat, so I've got a new, so as you can see in the background there, that's my Kicker desk. That's where I normally have the screen, yeah? No, I can't box like my brother Manny. That's where I normally have like my screen and my keyboard and setup, but I bought a new desk, yeah, and it's an electric one, right? So when I'm sat working on my computer, yeah, I can press, I've got little buttons on the side of it. I can press number 1, and it drops down to like normal desk level. And then I press 2, and it comes up high like this, so I can race on Zwift and like at eye level, you know. What trainer difficulty? Well, good question. Should we have a look? I don't even know, chat. I don't even know. I feel like it's probably 50%. Yeah, 50. Woo! I'm nervous, man.
Hi, Juarez. Just putting the emu to bed.
Make sure she's being fed.
Caffeine electro tabs.
You had it go on tax or stages bikes? Nah, never, Tom, never. How much for the old desk? Priceless.
It's a he.
His name's Warrers.
Mic check. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3.
Received, Oliver, loud and clear.
Affirmative. Thank you.
Hello, you can.
Charles, if that was a test, can confirm. Heard.
Cool, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Harvey has joined the server.
Maybe?
Comms volume is a little low on the stream. All right, Cameron, I'll turn up a little bit. Can you hear the music? Hey, chat, can you hear the music? Yeah. What camera are you using? Sony A6500, man. Kind of low. That's not. That's...
Better known as Luca Maganato.
Personally, yeah. The music is supposed to be pretty quiet, man. Let me just turn Discord up a little bit. Output volume 120. And we got 10 minutes. So chat, we've actually, I'll explain it a little bit more when we've got more people in.
Richard, have you got one Nike Max on and one Timberland boot on?
I've got diabetes.
Felix, are you on okay? Did you want to give anything that we needed to do or any specific?
Hi Jack, can you hear me okay?
Yes, mate, all good.
So I'm lined up ready to go. If you guys, the Discord will stream in as well. So if you make sure you hit mute before we start, otherwise I'll just hear your turbos in the background. I can mute you if you forget. And then I thought we might try and grab a couple of post-race interviews if people are up for that.
Definitely, no, that would be perfect. So everyone sort of knows that. So if they're not on Discord now, they'll join it if they do well towards the end of the race anyway. So you get a chat of them there. I'll
plan to start the stream at kind of like 1 minute to go rather than going too soon. Otherwise it'll just be you guys sitting there at the side of the road. And it should, in theory, if you can hear me now, it should all work fine.
Perfect, thanks, mate.
Would it be okay if you gave us a bit of a countdown? You know, for the different groups, if you have a timer when we start and say group one, obviously go when the timer goes to 0, then group 2, group 3, group 4, etc.
Yeah, I can time you in. I'll try and talk through it as well, kind of as a explainer for anyone watching as well. But yeah, I'll count you in. So yeah, I've got the list of the teams here.
Thank you very much. Cheers, mate. I'm from Canada. I need English to English translation.
Well, I'm sure you guys know already, but obviously for a meet-up, the finish line isn't exactly in the same spot for everyone. But and I won't be able to see the finish line from my point of view, so I'm just going to assume everyone's going to 30k, and that will be where you finish, and I'll jump back out down the order when we get towards the finish.
Oh, who's on lightweights there next to me? Who's that on lightweights? Who's that? Who is that? Who's that? Yo, what wheels has everyone else gone for? Yo, who's this on the TT bike? Who the hell's on the TT bike? Yo, ref. Ref. Alright, a couple of DT Swisses. One man's under some zips down there, I see that.
I'm assuming you guys know which group you're on at this stage, though, right?
Been through it 5 times, Felix, so we're just starting to get to grips with which group we're in now.
I'll give it the rundown of names maybe just before each section, just as a double check.
Yo, who's that? Who with the disc on? That's a big choice, that.
Jay Hunts is in the pen, but he's just taking screenshots.
Alright. TT bike is... Ah, okay. Yo, hey, what a tune.
Freddie, just to check, it's Sheshki, yeah?
Yeah, that's good.
And who's down as his Royal Softness?
That's Jacob Chipper, but you can refer to him to his hierarchical title of the Royal Softness for the purposes of commentary.
How you feeling? I'm feeling alright, Jack. I'm feeling alright. Gonna be a tough race, like, but hey. Woo! Heroes tonight on repeat.
And
Jack,
Felix,
shall we-
I'm Griff, okay, not Gruff.
Spelled Gruff, pronounced Griff, so it's really simple.
I'll probably go surnames, give myself a better chance, but thanks, yeah, good.
Writing's not that easy, but Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct.
What we're saying, chat, no pressure. Hey, I don't feel pressure, man. Hi, Cam. On the Wahoo Kicker, what gear selection do you prefer? I've just set it up so it's the same as my bike outside. So it's 1128 on the back, 53 on the front, I think. Four minutes. So yeah, chat. We're basically it's going to be run on a handicap format. So we've got 4 different groups. First group sets off. Second group's 45 seconds back. Then it's a 1 minute 20, and then I think I'm 1 minute 30. So Yeah, annoyingly, I'm in the back group, but hey, it is what it is. Why the handicap? I guess it makes for a more exciting racing, right? If we're in group, if kind of groups are chasing each other. Is it only teammates? Yeah, man. It's the full Ribble team. The full Ribble team. Apart from James, I don't think James is racing for some reason. What did you eat today? I had porridge. And I've had some beans on toast for lunch. First time together, yeah, pretty much. Drop the caffeine tabs. I don't think I've ever had a caffeine tablet.
Have a good race, you guys.
Don't leave your sprint too late. I don't think it's going to come down to a sprint this race. I don't think it kind of finishes after the top of the climb, so it's going to be pretty chaotic like.
Good afternoon. It is Saturday, the 6th of February, and we are having the Ribble-Weldtite Team Zwift race this afternoon. It is going to be a 30-kilometer race
This is
around
going to
the
crack
Ocean
me.
Lava Cliffside route in Watopia.
This
The
guy's getting
is
muted.
19 kilometers, so this race will take us for roughly 1.5 laps, and it will be a race with a hilltop finish. This is going to be a pursuit race, so we have 4 groups which are going to be spread over 90 seconds. So it's going to be striking that balance between teamwork and collaboration, and then the competitive edge of the riders as they rip around the course. Group 1 will be starting in only 15 seconds time when the countdown hits 0. That was going to be made up of Will Brown, Jack Reese, Richard Jones, and Tom Timothy. So those riders will be starting any moment now. The following groups need to be at a halt. Commissaires are watching closely and we'll be looking for any riders jumping the start as we roll out with that first group of riders. So we see Reese, Timothy making a good start. Will they push on with a high pace at the beginning, or will they be looking to hold back and keep their pace nice and constant?
Cheers, Gavin.
Try and get that group formed up. The next group will be starting at 45 seconds, so in 30 seconds time, made up of Matt Gibson, Charles Page, Griff Lewis, and then his Royal Softness pseudonym, trying to keep his cards close to his chest. I'm sure the teammates will be familiar with the strengths and weaknesses of their rivals. That group will be starting in 15 seconds time.
I think we start in fucking 7 seconds time.
Watching the clock tick down. 5 seconds to group 2. And away they go. So group 2 will be rolling. And then we look down the order. The third group on the road, starting at 1 minute and 20 seconds on the clock. So just under 30 seconds from this point for that group, is going to be made up of Simon Wilson, Freddie Sheshka, and Zeb Kiffin. So that group, if we look back down the order, you see the riders waiting on the start line, waiting to roll out. And the third group, on the road will commence in just under 10 seconds time. So in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and away that group goes. There's only 10 more seconds to wait for Dan Bigham Ollie Moores, Cameron Jeffers, and Joe Wilson. They will be the final group on the road. They're starting in 3, 2, 1, and away we go. So we should have all the groups racing on the road. They're beginning their 30-kilometre race. The leaders have just come through that first K, taking that slight uphill drag away from the seaside. As they leave the kind of town area of Watopia, they'll be completing one full lap and then an incomplete lap to the finish, and that front group have formed up as a group of 4: Reese, Timothy, Brown and Jones. Looking back down the road, Page it is that's currently leading that second group on the road. Lewis and Tipper are in that group nice and neat, so that is a trio chasing the quartet up front. They have an advantage on the next group on the road, which is made up of Tiffin, Sheska, Wilson, and then there's a bit of a gap back again to Moores, Wilson, Bigham, and Jeffers. So that is the makeup of the groups. It looks like the first part of this race will come down to that collaboration between those small groups of riders. These are all riders on the same team, but I'm sure there's no love lost. They will all be trying to race their hearts out today to put on a show for those watching, but also for the bragging rights on the team bus. So this is a rolling course. The first lap will be a sighter for some of the riders that may or may not be familiar with the course in total.
Is the audio okay for the commentator?
There's the slight climb at the start that the riders have already tackled, and a long flat section as we weave our way around the volcano section of Watopia. When we cross the bridge, we climb into the Italian villas, and there's a short little punchy climb. It's not super steep gradients, but it's got a little flat section in the middle as the riders climb up, and then a bit of a false flat going down as we take us into what will be the final climb on the second ascent. Got a really steep kick up, and then when we cross the viaduct at the top, we've got a false flat that weaves along the cliff sides. And so on that first lap, you'll be looking for groups, gaps forming in those groups between the riders that maybe collaborate up to that point. We might get a reshuffle of the riders as they head around that first lap. Then after the fast descent, you've got the flat section to complete the lap, and then we'll be heading back towards that final climb as the riders look towards the finish. So we have that front group of 4 still climbing nicely. The 3 riders chasing them are working well, and it looks like, as we look further down the road, the scratch group, the group of 4, led at the moment by Bigham, along with Wilson, Moores and Jeffers, they are very quickly reeling in the trio of riders just ahead of them up the road. They started with a 10-second deficit. That gap is already down to 3 or 4 seconds. So it looks like the way that this race is going to start panning out is we've got our 2 small groups up the road, and the 2 groups further back down towards the back of this race are going to be coming together to form a group of 7 riders. Fortunately, all the riders seem to have got away without any technical difficulties, and sometimes this obviously be the case on Zwift, connection issues, especially with riders having to wait for their starts. But it seems like everyone's got away safely in the first part of the race, and they'll be watching that clock tick down. It is 30 kilometres to the finish.
Who was that?
For those watching on the live stream, the finish flag you see flagged at the top for 30 kilometres, and then the distance will tick along with the riders that we are watching as we proceed. So this is currently looking at that increasing in size scratch group at the back. We've got 7 riders coming together. Cam Jeffers just tapped on the back there. So that group of 7 has a good chance of pulling that weight of numbers to give them an excellent chance of bringing the group together. The riders, if you turn the mic off, it's okay. From my end, we've got I managed to mute all the riders, so we shouldn't be hearing too much of the heavy breathing and the whirring toes in the background as the riders whip around this course. And you can see this scratch group here taking the little punchy climb out the volcano now, all together as a 7, and they'll be casting their eyes forward now towards that next group of 3. Their quarry, you've got Page, Lewis, and Tipper, and in fact, it looks like we have a small gap in that group. So Tipper has got a small gap ahead to the duo he was riding with. So now that he's on his own, he's got a decision to make. Does he throw in his chance with that chasing group behind and take this chance for a pause, grab his breath and snatch the wheels as the bigger group's coming along, or does he try and invest energy now to try and stay ahead? There will be a tactical moment for those riders. They'll be looking, making that decision, especially the sprinters, the ones that are less keen on climbing, will be looking to get themselves over that big climb, which will come in the middle of the lap before the scratch group comes along, because then it might rip the group to pieces on this first time up the climb. So for the riders that are not backing their climbing, they're going to try and get themselves further up the road on this first part of the race. For the ones that are maybe caught on their own, like Tipper here, it maybe is better to throw their lot in with a group behind and take their chances on the climb. No such cohesion issues at the front of the race though. Brown, Reese, Timothy and Jones all tucked together nice as a little quartet working together. They are just approaching that short climb up in the kind of...
sounds like the Handforth Parish Council meeting.
In the 5k to go region, so it's a dangerous launching pad if we get that far with a group that might see a rider that doesn't back themselves on the final blast up the climb to try and get away. for these 4 riders now, it will be a bit of a test of that cohesion, and it will be interesting to see whether they can keep this group together and can keep that collaboration, which gives them an excellent chance of holding off the groups behind. They are building a lead as per the clocks on the side of the screen at the moment. You see 53 seconds to Page and Lewis, and then the gap back to the scratch group, which started at a 1 minute and 20 deficit, has only come down as measured by Zwift to about 1 minute 14, 1 minute 13. So it means that they have started to nibble away at that lead, the group at the rear, but the lead quartet at the front have started this race with impetus, and they're looking to try and hold off that larger group that is forming behind. A group of 7 riders currently, led by Sheshka. Looks like Tipper will be sliding back into that group at this stage. He's still working hard, but only got 5 seconds advantage on that large group, so it is a inevitability seeming at this point, and Tipper needs to try and decide where he is best placed to try and slot into that group as we start to approach that short little climb with these riders as well. Page and Lewis have got a decision to make here. They've ended up in this middle. They're chasing, they've got a big old gap, almost a minute's gap to that group of 4 up front, so the odds are looking tough in that regard. But with the group coming behind with pace, perhaps they're trying to get themselves as far, maybe even over this short climb if they can't get all the way over the larger climb. If that's the case, you can see the beacon ahead. That is Jack Rees in that lead group. So he is the one, you can see that distant group. And that will maybe give a bit of an inspiration to this pair to try and chase down as they take the gravel roads. A couple of hairpin bends up the climb here. No, like I said, no severe gradients, and this will be a good opportunity for the riders to sight out this part of the course before we come to this point in the final lap, when it will be right in the crunch time for the decider of this race. For those just joining us, this is the Ribble-Weldtite team Zwift race, using an opportunity to put on a bit of a show, but also get that racing sharpness, that racing instinct built up whilst we wait for the return of real life racing. And we're very fortunate, obviously, with all the opportunities we've had through Zwift and some of the online platforms to try and get a bit of competitiveness into our year up to this point. This is a 30-kilometre race. You see the riders have already clicked over 5 kilometres of that, so we are rapidly chewing through those miles. And as I speak, and as the riders chew through these miles, we can see that scratch group is now coming across this pair. So the group that started off as 4 riders at the back of this race has now swelled to, was initially caught that group of 3, but started with a 10-second advantage. Tipper has gone back into making it 8, and now we are looking at 10 riders chasing 4. So the bulk of this race is now all together. We've got a fairly standard race format. We've got a peloton, you can call it that, a select group of 4 riders further ahead, acting as the breakaway. They are the hares and the hounds. Will they be smelling blood? Will they be starting to hunt down? The gap has come down to a minute. Those gaps can fluctuate somewhat using this platform depending on what gradient the riders are on. So the riders will, as they go down ascent, that gap extends and the gap might go out slightly. So the breakaway group have just finished climbing, they're starting their descent, so we might just see that gap tip out a couple of seconds as they start to descend and the group behind chase, or is the pace of that group behind currently led by Page, going to be putting just too much speed in to bring the race back together. Sheshka has done a lot of work up to this point. Is there some collaboration? Has some deals been done about who is going to carry a lot of the workload, or is it a fair fight and everyone here is going to be battling out one individual by individual for their position in the race? Bigham on the front, using all of his aero expertise to try and tow this group along. And as they start this descent, so lifting the pace, you can see the speed is well over 30 miles an hour, 51 kilometers an hour on the front of this group on this slight downhill gradient. They can see using the mini-map ahead that whilst that front group is out of sight around those hairpin bends, they can get a judgment, they've got the information, they can see the power output that their quarry is holding. And as we look further back to the group, speaking of power output, Cam Jeffers having to put in quite the dig there, well into the 11, 12 watts per kilo. Moments inattention perhaps, and he got himself distance off the back of the group, still kicking on, and he's spun his way back across. So he had the reserves to try and rectify potentially a little bit of an error as we just crested that climb and the pace.
I was doing an Instagram story.
The impetus of Bigham's effort on the front, but Jeffers in a moment of bother, but he's maybe burnt a match, but he is back.
Moment of bother, come on, pal.
Continuing to steam along. This
moment of bother.
Like I said, the riders will be finishing. This will be kind of coming into the final kilometres in the following lap's time. So riders, this is a good opportunity to get a picture of what they might be facing, and this is also a chance for the riders that are maybe nervous about this climb to decide where they might need to be able to make that move if they aren't going to go toe to toe with the climbers at the finish. The finish, speaking of which, we're about to get our first view of. Resembles Amstel Gold somewhat, for those that are fans of pro racing on the continent. The climb is a steep one. It's only a short one though. It's maybe a couple of minutes climb. And then the finish line will be a kilometre or so over the top of the climb. So the false flat over the top will be a good test of any riders that have gone deep into the red on the climb itself, and they may get
how much did Ribble pay Prince William to commentate?
That false flat section going over the top. Riders will see the wall of the climb rear up in front of them at any moment now. They're looking ahead, and these 4 riders at the front have a luxurious position to some extent. They've invested a lot of effort to this point, but they have got the 49 second, the 50-second gap to the group behind. So they have a decision to make as a group, collectively, and as an individual. Do they want to push on the pace to make sure they maintain that gap over the top here, or is the gap that they've got now just give them that little bit of room to slide back and conserve some energy on this first time up the climb as we head towards the finish? So you see the gradient starts to tip up as we go past the along this jetty section, and a couple of percentage points doesn't sound like much, and in real life you may not even be able to see that, but in the world of Zwift, the gradients can bite through the turbo trainers that apply resistance for the riders, and they can see the climb looming in front of them now, tipping up and around to the right. So the gradient will be coming and feeling very real very shortly, and it's Timothy that's going to lead this front group onto the climb. And Jones and Brown and Reese are tucked on the wheel, looking to preserve that gap. They've got double-digit percentage gradient straight away.
There's the climb.
For the riders that will sap the momentum, and then they will have to battle their way up this climb. Looking down the order, Bigham it is on the front, also climbing through the jetty section across this kind of pier, and then they will also see that beacon. So they have that mark now. There's in real life, you might be looking for neutral vehicles and the convoy. Zwift, you can see that bright yellow beacon up ahead and above the rider. That is Jack Reese, who is at the front of this group. So that will give the group behind extra opportunities to judge their effort. You see the gap starting to come down. So we've got 5.7 watts per kilo going to be put down at the front of the group in both the breakaway and the chasers. And the chasing group now also start the climb. So we'll be eyes towards the back of this group. The suffer cam. We'll see if anybody has found that first lap. Maybe wasted some energy or had to do a little bit of fighting to close gaps, and who is the riders that are going to be putting the pressure down? It's Bigham, who led onto the climb, that continues to pour the power onto the pedal, so he is keen to make the rest of this group hurt on his wheel and using the gradient as an opportunity to try and prise some gaps open. So Bigham it is, Jeffers and Moores and Sheshka, who are at the front of this group, putting some real pressure on. Looking down the order, Tipper, who spent some time on his own on that first lap under pressure early on, Lewis as well. So those are the riders. They're just trying to manage their effort at this stage. If they can grab the wheels, if they can keep their fingers on the coattails of those riders up front, it will give them the chance to recover as we go across the flat. It's an unforgiving course in some senses. We've got that false flat section over the top, so it isn't just a question of getting to the top of this climb and being able to back off completely. We've got to manage that effort, and some riders might go deep into the red to cling on, and it'll be the false flat section that catches them out. Bill Bigham on the front of the group, who is putting huge amounts of pressure on it, is annihilated the gap for that group of 4 up front. It's come back down 50 seconds when they hit the climb. We're now looking at about 20 to 24 seconds between the chasing group, now led by Kiffin, and the leading quartet, who have stayed all together. So they have just started to crest the climb. They've just turned that corner around the left-hand bend. So they've managed their effort really nicely to get themselves in a position up the road, so that as this group behind, which has started to split, it means that that group of 4 is in a place to put themselves and tuck themselves nicely into the front part of this race, in amongst the riders that have shown the greatest pace on the climb. Lewis and Page, it looks like, are going to have to dig deep here to try and get their way back to the race. If they are to close that gap, got 11-second gap from Page forward to Lewis, and then Lewis has 9 seconds. So you can just see that tantalising gap in front of him. He's got to commit now. As we've completed 10 kilometres of race, he's got to commit to this effort to try and bring himself back to the race. One big dig might be enough to get there. Jeffers it is on the back of the group, so it's a little burst of power, so he's managed to tag himself on the back of the group, and he is in a good place as we've got just a small gap opening just at the front. We have a pair of riders, Moore and Kiffin, looking to punch away, and it is Bigham who brings the rest of the group back together. So a couple of a bit of a shuffling of the pack there. We've got a couple of riders towards the back that have been caught out on that climb at the pace set by the leaders, and the gap to the breakaway has plummeted it down to 14 seconds. So as we said, that is the main part of the climb done. This course now falls flat up for the next few kilometres, so the work is not done. If you've got riders that have had to work hard, put themselves into the red to stay on the wheels on that climb, or maybe put themselves in the red, trying to split other riders off the back of the group, this is where they can get caught out. All the riders racing a canny race at the moment. No big shows of strength, no swashbuckling attacks. They're looking very seriously towards the later part of this race, knowing that power on that final climb is going to be a really important determinant of how they get on. The Zwift avatars, as usual, showing no signs of the effort the riders are putting in. I'm sure if we were listening in, Cam Jeffers is streaming this on YouTube for those that want to see the pain faces, but the avatars are giving nothing away. And the leading quartet of riders continue their effort nicely. So they've managed their efforts. They've still got a 10-second gap over the top of the climb. As you said, pursuit races, all about that decision making, where to invest that effort, deciding whether the group you're in is the winning group, or whether you've best bet is to conserve that energy. Trying to time the catch as well, because if you're up the road, you've got an element of control over where you may or may not be caught. Obviously, it's not completely in your hands, otherwise you choose just to stay away. But with that element of control, you might decide, okay, we know that we've got this false flat section and there's a bit of a descent, and that might be our chance for recovery anyway, so we can afford to invest in a bit of energy now, knowing we'll get that rest. Or if you're worried about a particular climb, you might decide to try and push on to try and stay away from the group to get caught on a faster section where the slipstream will help give you that recovery. Speaking of recovery, we've got back of the group Jeffers Bigham. So Bigham did a lot of work on that climb, tucked now on the wheels, having that moment to catch his breath. They've got the same for this group. They've got that leading quartet under control. I'd say there's no kind of huge desperate urgency with still 19 kilometers to go to the finish, and still the final climb, of course, as well. They've seen how they managed to bring back numerous seconds on that first time of the climb. With the gap now sitting under 10 seconds, that group behind, they may start to look at one another, because this is a team race. We've got some friendly rivalries though, and the honest work done on the front of this group might be to the benefit of your normally your teammates in this case, but sometimes on today's course it will be your rivals. It will be the riders you are trying to find a way to beat. So you can see some of that impetus has gone out of the group. The front of the group riding at 3.34 watts per kilo. Even something that I could manage briefly at this stage, but there's absolutely no chance that I would be in the mix with these guys. The pace that we saw on the climb gives you an indication of the kind of watts that are going to be thrown down as we hit that final ascent. Got a mix of sprinters and climbers, as ever, with any team, and that might start to inform those tactical decisions as we go into the final kilometres of the race. Last few hundred metres for this leading quartet before they head down this fast ascent. The recently banned super tuck, banned in real life. I'm pretty sure it's still a feature in Zwift. You need to be going over 58 kilometers an hour, and just bring the watts down to zero, and you can enjoy one last legal super tuck before the commissaires of the UCI really start that crackdown. Nothing like a controversial off-season moment in pro cycling. Group behind, like I said, we've got this kind of détente period, this pausing of hostilities, looking down Lewis and Page, persevering with their effort, trying to get themselves back, keeping themselves in touch, looking for any riders that might end up gapped off the back, might give them a target to try and work across to. Obviously, for a solo rider or a small group of riders, the balance, the slipstream effect means that it's a tough ask to maintain any gaps or keep themselves in touch with a group of, I think it's about 8 riders now, sharing that workload, sharing the impetus, and with the strength of that group, like we said, the prospects for our leading quartet are limited. As we see the first super tuck, here we are, it's Reese who it is, using that slipstream. He's going to have to put a bit of a punch in though, because of the speed that group is pulling down this descent. Spectacular suspension bridge descent that the riders are taking. And the group behind, also a few riders tucking and sliding by their opponents. All the British cycling commissaires obviously going, oh, what happens when we get off Zwift and we start racing in real life? Is everyone going to go blasting into those first corners? But it's been a huge opportunity, I think, for everybody to keep that competitive spirit. The social side of racing on a regional level has been a huge part of this year as well, and riders from all across British cycling regions have been racing together and enjoying, if that's quite the word for any Zwift race, but enjoying that competition, enjoying suffering with one another with some familiar names. And the beauty of Zwift, of course, is that it's allowed us to race with people across the world, but also to keep in touch with those that normally would be at the local track league with in the last 12 months. Just coming up to half distance, so like we said, 30-kilometre long race. Here's the Ribble-Weldtite team Zwift race. getting their eye in. There's a little quartet of super tuckers as we continue to descend, fast descent. So, like I said, coming up to half distance, and then we will be taking a long flat section on the underwater part of Watopia,
We're saying,
which
chat.
will take us round to complete the
What we
first
saying?
lap. And then the riders will be on familiar roads. We've all spent a lot of time on Zwift, but they've just had a chance to sight that first, or that crucial last part of the race in the beginning, in the early kilometres. But it will be a chance for them to maybe got a feel for how they are going compared to their teammates, where they felt good on the course,
Yes,
where they
Dan.
think they have an advantage. So, like I said, constant state of affairs at the moment. Group of 4 being pursued by the group
Yes, Gavin.
of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 riders. So 4v8. Unfair balance at the best of times, and especially with still 15 kilometers to go. Gives you a clue, 20 minutes racing so far for that 15k that's covered by the scratch group. So that'll give you a clue. We're probably about 20 minutes or so of racing until we hit that finish arch. So we
Yo,
are
chat,
through the
I'll
halfway
put
point,
the graph
we're
off and
heading
on.
underwater.
I don't really want to see it
Sights and
when I'm
scenes of
suffering.
Utopia. One last little descending section, then it's a while till we hit the next downhill. Kind of lots of little false flat uphill sections in amongst the flat. So last chance for a bit of recovery, maybe for riders that are further down the group. And we have a little flyer here, Bigham, putting on a show now. So not content with that group of 8, he's decided he's better on his own, loves racing against the clock. So it's Bigham versus the clock at this stage, throwing down the power up into the 600 watts. Looking like a great performance here. So he's trying to catch out the rest of that group. Maybe they were napping. We thought we were reaching that stable place in the race. And if he can punch across that group of 4, maybe that group of 5, with the impetus of this move from Bigham, might fancy their chances at holding off the rest of that group. The rest of the group looking around at one another. Less than 4 watts beginning on the front of the group, so they don't want to be the one to chase Bigham. So it's an opportunistic move from Bigham here. And will Timothy, Rees, Jones and Brown be able to benefit and capitalise on this? So they've got Bigham. He's punched the race across. Now we have a group of 5, and that 6 or 7 second gap that looked very stable before. It was a small enough gap. It's dangerous if you've got that breakaway group within sight, within reach. A small move like this, about 30 seconds for Bigham, has changed the race situation dramatically. So he was part of the work that brought that group that close. Maybe this was a tactic all along, and now he's pushed on ahead, and it's now onto that group behind, that large group behind, to work out what they're going to do to try and bring back this breakaway move. So Bigham, Timothy, Jones, Rees and Brown grabbing the wheels at the moment. Will they be able to contribute to that pace at the front? And now the debating begins behind. We've heard time and time again, we know in race situations how difficult it could be for a medium-sized group, so 7 riders. There's lots of other riders to share the work with, but there's always that temptation in a group this size to go, oh, I'll just sit on the back here and make someone else do it. There's enough other riders to lean on, and so Bigham, relying on that logic, relying on the fact that actually a group of 4 or 5 with motivation, with reasons to ride, can often outdo a larger group that end up looking at one another. So that gap has gone out under the impetus of this attack. We are back outside 10 seconds. Will the alarm bells be starting to ring in that group behind? We often here cited the 1 minute per 10 kilometers rule and all that kind of thing, but that's big bunch sprints coming back on tired breakaways that have been out all day. This is a short, punchy race, 40 minutes or so of racing. Riders will have enough matches to burn that they can commit to these moves. And that is exactly what Bigham has done here. Kippen behind, trying to grab the wheel of Sheshka. That group clearly not collaborating, and so individual riders punching out to try and get away. And if it works, you can get a small group working together. Good way to bring that gap back together. But if you have this surge stop racing, it is the least efficient way to bring a breakaway back together. So Sheshka and Kippen, and now Jeffers it's kind of starting to stitch it together. Will riders further back in this line feel the pressure of that effort more as it is tagged on the back at the moment? As the riders at the front of this group, they are really bringing that front group back, and it's splits at the front. No, it's still all together. That group now 5. Bigham, it is still putting a lot of the impetus behind. The other riders tagged on. We have more or less one long line here, so there's a bit of a gap. There's 2 or 3 seconds between Sheshka and Wilson. Another second or so back to Tipper and the rest of that group. So it is not back together yet by any means, but we have 2 or 3 bike length gaps between a couple of spots in this line. Sheska has been brought back by the rest of that group. He hasn't quite yet managed to tag his way back to the leaders, but only 2 seconds. They'll be picking up that slipstream very shortly. Wilson it is now that tries to be the one to close that gap, to punch across the final few seconds. They can often be the hardest to close. As you see, riders further down the order. Sheska, who put a big effort in early a few moments ago, is now tagged on near the back, trying to recover from that effort. And it looks like we are all back together. So, more or less, as we complete that first lap, as we come up to 19 kilometers of racing, the majority of this race are all back together now. We've got one big group. We've had 1 lap of racing. We have 11 kilometers, or just over 11 kilometers to go to the finish. The riders have seen it all. You've had the chance to see it. We know we've got that finish climb. And so now, with maybe a few of the efforts made, a few matches burnt on that first lap, we have the group coming together, and we'll see who has played their cards right, who has saved their energy on their first lap and put themselves in this winning position the most efficiently, and who it is who is left with a handful of 2s and 3s and needs to come up with a way of mixing this one up. Early on, looks like Wilson it is, so he not content, he's pushed on ahead, he's backed off the power a little bit moment there, but he has got a small gap. Bigham, will he be in the red zone after making that effort in that breakaway? And it is Jones now that tries to light this one up. So there's lots of riders now trying to look at their options and deciding, actually, this climb is not where I'm going to win this race. I need to try my luck, see if we can get something going and create a gap before we get to the final climb, and it suits the best climbers in the team. So Jones had a pop, Wilson's had a pop, Bigham is up there looking to stitch things together at this point, having been one of the main protagonists that kind of lit the touch paper here. But despite all those surges, despite those efforts, this group is now all back together. So false flats, order of the day for the next 5 kilometers or so. We are climbing very slightly here. We'll then take the flat section around the volcano, and then we have those 2 climbs, the first of which barely a kilometre in length, only a few percentage points, so will only be a platform if a rider needs it, and then that final climb, kind of a kilometre or so over the top, will be the finish line. So it's not as simple as a straight out sprint up the climb, but riders at the front will be back in their chances to hold that gap on the false flat. Sheska and Bigham now pushing on ahead, putting in a bit of a surge as we just crest this one. Those changes in grading can be opportunities for the splits as the sticky draft might catch riders out. Kippen and Jeffers are looking to respond and get across. So we've got a couple of little gaps opening up now as well. Riders behind having to stitch this one back together. It is Bigham, who is still at the front of proceedings, holding that constant high tempo, trying to grind his rivals into submission. And will they be able to hold the wheel, or will their legs cry enough? We have a small gap in the middle of the group, Moores it is, who's trying to respond to that surge in tempo. Tipper, Timothy, Reese are trying to get themselves back into contention as well. There's a few bike lengths gap, enough at the moment that they can still hold the slipstream, but it's definitely putting the pressure on the rest of the group. Jones it is on the back, just grabbed the wheel of Reese, and he is relying on the riders further up the line to not let those gaps go, to get himself back into this group. It looks like he slides forward, so takes one wheel forward. Tipper is tucked on the very back of this group now, and as the group swells, you can see it widening. We've had those long, thin lines with a couple of bike lengths gap between riders, and things swell as the group just slows down a touch. Jones it is, comes to the front, wants to keep that tempo ticking along. Under 10 kilometers to go, just over 9k to go at this point. No major surprises, just minor changes in gradient in this part of the course. But the nerves will be rising for the riders. They'll be trying to make sure they can execute their plans, trying to decide what the best thing to do is, about adjusting on the fly. Best laid plans can go to dust in any race, even amongst teammates. I'm sure in some cases the only place warm at the inside of a volcano will be a garage with a turbo setup, albeit on a frosty winter's day, bracing ourselves for the Beast from the East Mark II. What a useful thing it is to have the opportunity to ride and race with your teammates through the virtual world, albeit not quite the same as real life. We're all very much looking forward to getting out there when the race season returns.
You're telling me this isn't real life?
We have this whole group stacked up together. A little punch out the volcano can catch a few riders out on races that we do here, kind of short little bursts. If you've got a small group, but a large group like this means that unless somebody puts a real concerted effort in, these small little ramps won't cause any difficulty.
I had a drop out there.
Sat at the front for a little while now. Kiffin's up there as well.
Had a little
riders,
dropout,
when
that's
it comes
not
to the front,
good.
they actually often kind of back off that pace, using the fact that they're up at the front, not willing to put work into the benefit of the other riders in the group. With no riders up the road, there is that reduced impetus, that reduced need of investing effort. It can end up being a wasted effort if there's no purpose behind it. Wilson decides, though, there is a investment to be had, there is a benefit to be had, and he is now pushing on with a big old move as we start this little descent, trying to catch some of the riders out that maybe were taking that opportunity for a bit of a pause. He's got his aero rear disc wheel on, so using that maybe to try and use this flat section. Maybe he's got the setup he needs to get the difference, make that small difference on the flat. Wilson continues the effort. It is Bigham and Sheshka who are now at the front as they bring him back. So a few different moves. Someone's got the wherewithal to type into the chat. Excellent hand-eye coordination. I'd fat finger that, no doubt, in amongst all the sweat that be coming down the eyebrows as we. Right to the front to show the others, hey look, I'm here, I'm riding strong.
I deafened him by accident. Hey Chash, shall I leave him deafened or do you want to hear him?
But he needs to take the victory. Riders coming up to that crucial but only short climb, about 1 kilometre or so in length, so they're a couple of moments away from starting this little potential springboard for riders that aren't backing themselves on that final ascent. So this is the first potential tactical rendezvous for the riders. They've got just over 6 kilometres to go. So close enough to the finish now that they have options. It is maybe where the balance starts to strike, where an individual rider, if the group behind hesitates, take too long, then they might start to look at one another, as we saw behind with Bigham's move. In the end, they brought it back. It was a long way to go to the finish, but with only 6K to go, there is a reduced time for the riders to hesitate and look at one another. Is anybody going to use this, or have I managed to hype it up, psych it up for nothing, and the mind games will continue? We'll know that somebody's comfortable if they can still type as we start this little climb, see if anybody puts the pressure on, tries to catch anyone making a little blunder. Is they're there with their phone, trying to type in a message. Will that be with the perfect moment, the equivalent of the water bottle swig to take that, to put that attack in?
Thank you, bye-bye.
Timothy's on the front. 400 watts or so. So he is the one trying to keep that tempo high. Is this in a tempo to try and crack the group? Is it a tempo just to try and preserve the status quo? Is this Jones? It is trying to hold that gap. So Timothy got a few bike lengths at this point. So good little move, a sneaky move, not a big old swashbuckling attack, just a little drive off the front. He has a few meters now. So what does he do with those meters? Does he decide, okay, this is worth persevering with, I'm going all in on this move, or is he going to hesitate and wait and look behind? It is Jeffers on the front of the group. Sheska is there as well. And we have our leader, our solo leader. So we've got a little flat section in the middle of this climb. So the gap will extend in distance, but he only has a couple of seconds. So it is a tentative gap. It is a vulnerable position in some senses. Are the riders behind leaving him, hanging him out to dry? Or is it something that they are miscalculating? And this little gap will grow into something more substantive and dangerous as we go through the kilometers. Timothy persevering with this one, so tapping out of rhythm. And it is Wilson who is now coming across fast. So he's jumped across that gap, tried to make that effort as short as possible, reduce the chance of riders grabbing the slipstream and coming across. So now we have a duo up front. So as that group swells, it maybe gets more and more dangerous. As Wilson pushes on that pace. Timothy has to dig deep here to grab the wheel as we crest this climb. Pace will lift and that will extend any of these gaps. So a big old move from Wilson, waited late in this little climb and has seemed to time his move slightly better. Timothy heading backwards towards that group, the early move, now starting to pay for that in cash. Wilson has the lead now, so 3-4 seconds. Like we said, we've got a false flat, so it's not a descent where you can back off the pedals. He's going to have to continue his effort, he's going to have to persevere, push really hard here sustain this gap as we go down this false flat all the way, which leads us to the final climb. So unless someone is feeling very bold, it looks like Wilson will be the only one to deny a straight race up the final climb. Potentially a good situation here, because as we approach this final climb, less than 5 kilometers to go to the finish, riders aren't going to want to commit an effort that will go to supporting the riders in the rest of the group to come back. So will Wilson solo have what it takes to hold off the group behind? He now has 4 seconds of an advantage. They can see him still ahead, but he has a real gap, and this is starting to maybe become a gap that he can believe in. He has coming up to 4 kilometers to go, so he will be fully invested here. Every moment he spends out front makes this decision easier and easier to make. There's a moment of, oh, do I commit to this? But at this point, there is almost no question. The effort he's putting in at this point to hold the gap means that the options are narrowing, and this is his move. This is all in from Wilson. So he takes the next turn. He'll be trying to break this down into targets. He's going to push on, get to that next bend, push on ahead. He's put in a fantastic move here, and he is asking questions of those riders behind. And so far, none of the riders in that group have the answer to those questions. So Wilson riding hard here. He needs to build the gap. It's just a few seconds as we hit that climb will potentially not be enough, but he has a few seconds to work with at the moment. And with every passing moment, that gap does seem to be expanding little by little as the riders behind jockey for position and maybe preserve their legs, save a bit of energy for that final blast after climb. They've seen it already. They've seen the damage it can do. There were some little small bike length, half a bike length gaps that were
It's £200 for the winner. £200 for the win.
from that scratch group. And will they be looking at that evidence and going, okay, I know I've got some good legs here. I'm going to be in a good position to rip this race to pieces as we go up the final climb. So in true Amstel Gold fashion, we have this kind of balancing act. We've got a breakaway that has the lead. The odds are against them, but they have got the odds. They have still got a chance, and that is the most important thing.
That's enough, buddy. Hey, cheers for the 10, Cam. Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's get some hype in the chat for Cameron with the 10. Yes, Phil. Cheers, man. Cheers. Here we go.
there's a glass and a half in everyone.
I'm a runaway, I'm a stranger. I'm a lost soul out of space. I'm a small boy in a big town. I'm the last man standing when it goes down. I'm a player, I'm a cheater. I'm the one that never, ever, ever leaves ya. I'm your best friend to the very end, until we lose ourselves again. 'Cause I'm a blank space on a blank page. I know 100,000 words, but I can't say where do I belong. I need to move on, yeah. I'm a fighter, I'm a lone ranger. I give in every time they start to hate ya. I'm a sinner with bad behavior. I don't go to church, but sometimes I still pray. 'Cause I'm a blank space on a blank page. I know 100,000 words, but I can't say where do I belong.
Yo, chat, I didn't realise. I mean, don't get me wrong, I didn't have anything for the sprint, but I didn't realise that the finish was there.
Form's good, and I think I rode a power PB to the point I got there, and I was like, oh god, long way home. I was kind of glad that I eased up a little bit, and yeah, had some gas left.
Oh, so you're pretty much on the red limit as we crested that climb, and it was a question of giving that moment's pause for the sprint.
Yeah, exactly that. You just need to ease back and just get a bit of composure before you empty the tank.
Excellent. Was there a moment in the race you were worried? Were any of the breakaways a threat?
Pretty early on, actually. We went out real hard, and by the time we caught, they were all in the second group. There was still like a minute up the road, the first group.
Crying? Hey, Mirage, I'm not crying. I'm knackered. I'm knackered. I'll collect the parcel.
Play games you can win if you get to make the rules. It makes it a bit easier to succeed, hey?
Yeah, Jack was rolling the dice in his favour, but he lost today.
So, speaking of the devil, Mr. Jack Rees, how did that go? Were you happy with your performance?
Well, it was deeply unpleasant, Felix, as you can imagine.
There's a good reason why I sit here and watch people do this rather than I've given my turbos away.
Yeah, I think I'm giving mine away actually this afternoon if anyone wants to buy one. But no, I think the handicapping worked really well, and our group of four worked to plan, and we had a little bit left when the sort of faster, stronger guys came across the line, which was the plan, and then it ended up being 10 or 12 it was, wasn't it, going into that last climb, and
Jesus,
I guess the favourite one, so well done to him.
And was it a discussion that your group of four had about how you were going to approach it? Was that a plan that had been laid, or did it just happen on the road?
No, we had a real plan, and we knew what we were going to do for the first, till the quarters really. We were just trying to ride hard and fast, but sort of keep a little bit back because we knew that when they quarters, the pace would probably increase a little bit.
Let's go.
Excellent work. And Freddie, how did the race go to your plan? Were you happy with how that went?
Yeah,
He just went past me. Chat in the list of people. He just went past me. He just literally just blanked me.
the attention slip coming to the finish. I didn't see the banner. I just left it a bit too late. Fair play to Dan for going when he went.
It's a little tricky. If in doubt, lead out. Hey, sometimes. How much are you looking forward to getting back to racing, Freddie?
I can't wait. It's been way too long, and as fun as Whip is, it's not the real thing. It's not the tactics, and yeah, can't wait.
Yes, Ty.
And Ollie, you were in the scratch group. You guys talked about the race nice and quickly. Was there any pre-made plans in that group, or was it every man for himself?
Just a quick one. So on the live, they're saying they can't hear our responses.
Oh, okay. I'll. That's a shame. Let me.
Before we keep going with everyone else, I thought we maybe try to sort it out, or should we
Give me a second. I might have to pack it then. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
But I said I'll try and get those recorded. I'll make some notes and we'll put them out. But top of effort, everyone, and I'll wrap up the stream there. So thanks very much to Jack for inviting me to commentate. Apologies we weren't able to hear from the riders there. Some interesting points. Dan Bigham said that he thought he had been instructed, he'd been told to make it hard, and we definitely saw that from him. He put on a great show. Jack confirmed that front group had agreed to collaborate, and they managed their race really well. Freddie Sheshka said he was looking forward to racing as much as fun as it's been on Zwift, and he was pleased with his legs on that climb. And like I said, thanks for giving the shout, Ollie, before I continue a one-way interview. So great job to everyone. Thanks for the show. And a big thank you to Jack for getting me involved. Apologies for the difficulties there with the interviews at the end there. I thought it would work, but excellent work to everyone. I hope you've enjoyed that race. A big thanks to the riders for getting stuck in. Thanks for inviting me again. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your Saturday evening.
Hey, stream, I'm going to end it there. Yeah, we came away with third, man. I didn't have anything for that sprint. We could have done with an aero, but I didn't have anything for that sprint, and yeah, man. Strongest guy won, but hey, I was happy to get over that climb. There was a moment of thought before the race that I was gonna get dropped before the climb, so look, I'm happy to get over that. I think we won like 50 quid, maybe we won like 50 quid prize money, so hey, that pays for the curry and milkshake tonight, doesn't it, right? But chat, thank you for tuning in, thank you for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the stream. I suffered there, man. I can taste blood in my throat, it's horrible. But yeah, appreciate you all sticking around and watching. Love you all. New video coming very, very soon, actually. There's going to be a new video on the channel this week. Yo, Ivor with the 5 super chat. Yo, thank you, my guy. Thank you for that, brother. Cheers, Cameron, for the 10 as well. Phil, the vegan, with the tier 1 sponsorship. What's the playlist? It's just called, it's an NCS playlist. But yeah, stream, I'm going to end it there. New video dropping next week. Love you all. Peace out. Enjoy your evenings. Bye.